said in Black Panther Party that they can do anything they want to us. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips that I am a revolutionary. And you're going to have to keep on saying that.
Today, we're exploring one of the most controversial and debated relationships in modern American history. The FBI, the Black Panther Party, Martin Luther King, and the government operations that attempted to monitor, disrupt, and weaken political movements during the Civil Rights era. This is a story about power, it's a story about fear, and it's a story about a question that still divides people decades later. When does government surveillance become political suppression? To understand the story, we have to go back to the mid-1960s. America was in a period of enormous tension and change. The civil rights movement had achieved major legislative victories. Segregation laws were falling. The Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act had passed. But many people felt those victories had not changed daily realities in poor communities. Police violence, housing discrimination, unemployment, poverty, inequality remained a widespread problem. Large protests and riots erupted in cities across the country. Many younger activists were becoming frustrated with what they saw as slow progress.
The Negro can prove to the white man that he can live like the white man, then we will accept them.
And the only thing that scares me is the neighborhood all getting bad. And if we ever wanted to sell, naturally your house depreciation is the color get in.
If they move in, the next step we have to accept is intermarriage.
We can be sociable with them in work. We can get along with them and joke with them.
Sure.
But when we leave our job and we're on our way home, we want them to go in their direction and we can go in ours.
Out of that environment came a new generation of organizations. One of the most influential was the Black Panther Party.
Like I said before, we are organized in the community, going into different people's homes, politically educating them, telling them exactly what is going on, not only here in Oakland, but in America and throughout the world. See, many black people are not aware of what is going on in America, or what is going on in South Africa, or over there in France, for instance, We organize, since the black community is not a reading community, we talk to them, show them examples.
In October of 1966, Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale founded the Black Panther Party in Oakland, California. Most people today immediately think of the Black Panther image: black berets, leather jackets, and members carrying firearms. Those images were powerful and dramatic, but they only tell part of the story.
You scared people, Huey. The Black Panthers scared people.
Anytime the black man attempts to change the slave image, he will scare white people. So the Black Panther Party, I thank you. When you said that we scared people, that means that we were creating a positive black image for ourselves.
How do we change?
Let me give you an example.
All we're giving
the way you change it is through revolution. The way you change it is changing the entire institutionalized racism.
Okay, we're not going to change the whole system this morning. Give us some ideas what we can do to help.
We're not going to do anything but procrastinate. But what I'm trying to say is we have to start movements like the civil rights movement, continue it like the Black Panther Party, continue it like the Republic of New Africa, continue movements like the Nation of Islam, because it needs all of those groups, all of those movements just to start to make a dent in the kind of twisted mentality white people have in this country.
Why aren't they being started
from the upper class to the middle class? Because they all
Rita has a comment here
by the situation of black oppression, one way or another, even when they don't want to.
The Black Panthers argued that black communities had a right to defend themselves against police brutality. At the time, California law allowed the public carrying of firearms under certain conditions. Panthers sometimes followed police officers while openly carrying weapons and observing arrest. Their purpose was to monitor police conduct and discourage abuse. Supporters saw this as a community defense. Critics saw it as a dangerous confrontation. But beyond the weapons and headlines, the organization developed programs focused on local needs. The Black Panthers created free practice programs for children. They organized health clinics, they provided transportation for families, they ran education and political awareness efforts.
Why are the Black Panthers building their own medical center?
Well, first of all, the Black Panther Party, attuned to the needs of black people and other oppressed people, is open a free medical center for the same purpose we open a free breakfast free breakfast program. It's to let the people know that we are concerned with their basic needs and desires, and also to educate the people to the fundamentals of socialism, and also to heighten the contradictions within this capitalistic system. When I mean heighten the contradictions, all I'm saying is that just let the people be aware of the fact that the Black Panther Party, an organization which only been existing since 1966, is taking care of people, helping them as far as health care is concerned, and the federal government with all its wealth and resources not doing anything on a major scale, you know.
Some of these initiatives later influenced broader public discussions around community support programs. For many people in neglected neighborhoods, these programs created real impact. Membership and influence grew rapidly, and as that influence expanded, so did the government attention.
The Black Panthers are recruiting criminals and hoodlums and encouraging them to engage in a broad range of terrorist activities. They are the greatest threat to the internal security of this country. We want to make it clear to black youth that if they want to be revolutionaries, they will be dead revolutionaries.
The center of that attention was the secret FBI program called COINTELPRO. The program stood for Counterintelligence Program. COINTELPRO had originally begun years earlier against the Communist Party, but over time its targets expanded. Eventually, the program focused on a wide range of organizations, anti-war groups, political activists, civil rights organizations, and black nationalist movements. During the leadership of FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, the Black Panthers became a major concern. Hoover reportedly described the organization as one of the greatest threats to internal security.
My recruitment by the FBI was very efficient, very simple really. I'd stolen a car and went joyriding over the state limit, and they had a potential case against me, and I was looking for an opportunity to work it off. And a couple of months later, that opportunity came when FBI agent Roy Mitchell asked me to go down to the local office of the Black Panther Party and try to gain membership. I did so and became a member of the Black Panther Party.
Were you aware specifically through Mitchell of a program called COINTELPRO, the Counterintelligence Program?
At the time, no. I had no idea of any national program out to get the Panthers. I had no idea. In retrospect, I have determined from the type of information that I probably contributed greatly to it.
You told the story before, and I'd just like to have you repeat it about Mitchell telling you that he had other agents give him information and how they made, you know how you were being checked out.
Well, I think early on in the game, he let me know that the information, most of the information that I was supplying him was information he had already, or had been developed by his squad already. He kind of indicated that the information I was supplying was being cross-referenced with other informants. So I always felt like it was best to tell the truth in talking to him because he had his own methods. It was very little information that I gave him that he seemed surprised of. Okay? I just assume the FBI is not the FBI for nothing, you know.
Later, declassified documents revealed FBI goals that included preventing the rise of influential black leaders and disrupting political organizations before they could gain broader support. The methods used were often hidden from public view. Informants entered the Black Panther chapters. Surveillance operations expanded. Phone calls could be monitored. Meetings could be observed. Information could be collected on leaders and members. But authorities didn't simply gather information. Investigations later showed that fake letters and forged messages were sometimes used to create suspicion between people. Distrust could be encouraged. Personal conflicts could be intensified. tensions between groups and could become worse. Repeated arrests and legal battles also consumed resources. Even when charges did not lead to convictions, organizations still had to spend time and money defending themselves. Critics later argue that this strategy worked by exhausting movements from within.
Contributions to the Panther Defense Fund. We're trying to either wipe out the Panther Party by jailing all the members and wiping them out economically, financially, or violently through killing them. After all, they're just Negroes, you know.
In other cities, the Panthers were under physical attack from police departments. But New York City was going to handle its Panther problem differently. They created a conspiracy case that allowed them to arrest the entire leadership of the New York City Black Panther Party.
A New York grand jury has indicted 21 alleged Black Panthers on charges of plotting several bombings in the city tomorrow.
On April 2nd, 1969, in the pre-dawn raids, 21 Black Panthers were charged with all kinds of terrorist activity.
These are some of the men the police are accusing of being involved in the plot which could have wounded or killed scores of busy New Yorkers. 12 men were arrested today, 2 are already in jail, and 7 more are still at large.
And then there was Fred Hampton. By 1969, Hampton had become one of the most dynamic young leaders within the movement. He was only 21 years old, but many people viewed him as a gifted speaker and organizer. He was doing something that drew significant attention. He was attempting to create alliances among poor communities across racial lines. Black communities, Latino communities, poor white communities. His goal was broader cooperation around economic and social issues. Then in December 1969, police conducted a raid on Hampton's apartment in Chicago. Hampton was shot and killed. Questions quickly emerged. Authorities received a floor plan of the apartment from an informant. Later investigations and civil lawsuits raised serious concerns regarding law enforcement conduct and withheld evidence. For many historians, Hampton's death became one of the most troubling episodes connected to the government operations against political movements.
Chicago police raided Fred Hampton's apartment, shot and killed him in his bed. He was just 21 years old. Black Panther leader Mark Clark was also killed in the raid. While authorities claimed the Panthers had opened fire on the police who were there to serve a search warrant for weapons, evidence later emerged that told a very different story. That the FBI, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, and the Chicago police conspired to assassinate Fred Hampton. Noam Chomsky has called Hampton's killing the gravest domestic crime of the Nixon administration.
We always say the Black Panther Party that they can do anything they want to us. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips that I am a revolutionary.
Then, in August 22, 1989, civil rights activist and Black Panther Party co-founder Huey P. Newton was shot and killed. He was 47 years old. He was murdered by Tyrone Robinson in West Oakland, California, the same neighborhood where Newton had founded the party and organized social programs.
As friends and family prepared to lay him to rest, the authorities in Oakland, California prepared to arraign the man who confessed to killing him. Police say they believe 25-year-old Tyrone Robinson shot Newton in a dispute over crack cocaine. During his years with the Black Panther Party, Newton's run-ins with the law were frequent. Police say that in recent years he had a history of drug abuse. But many of those who attended the funeral today dispute the police account of Newton's death, portraying him as a victim of the white establishment.
And I think that it's the complete assassination that was started 20 years ago.
The guest list at the funeral read like a who's who of black revolutionaries. H. Rap Brown, who now calls himself Imam Jamil Abdullah Al-Amin. Angela Davis.
Huey Newton symbolizes a whole era in the quest for African-American equality.
And inside the church, a warm welcome for Bobby Seale, who founded the Black Panthers with Newton in 1966.
Power to the people, brothers and sisters.
Robinson was convicted of the murder in 1991 and sentenced to 32 years to life in prison. Many people in the black community and the Black Panther Party say that Robinson was paid by the three-letter organization to take out Huey P. Newton. At the same time, the Panthers faced pressures from many directions. Internal leadership disagreements emerged. Different members had different visions for the future. Some wanted a stronger emphasis on community programs, others focused more heavily on revolutionary politics. Legal battles consumed resources. Violence involving rival groups caused additional strain. Political attitudes across America were changing during the 1970s. Eventually, the organization fragmented. By the late 1970s, much of the Black Panther Party had collapsed, yet many of its ideas survived. Community organizing, police accountability activism, local health programs, political engagement, those ideas continue influencing the future movements long after the organization itself faded.
We don't hate nobody because of their color. We hate oppression. We hate murder of black people in our community.
Now we move to another major figure of the era, Martin Luther King Jr. Unlike many debates surrounding this period, one fact is well documented. The FBI under J. Edgar Hoover viewed King with deep suspicion. Agents monitored him extensively, wiretaps were placed on phones, associates were watched. Information about his private life was gathered. The purpose was not merely intelligence collection. Investigations later showed efforts designed to damage King's credibility and public image. One incident remains particularly disturbing. An anonymous package was sent to King. Inside were recordings and a letter that many historians interpret as an attempt to psychologically pressure him towards suicide. The event later shocked later investigators and became one of the most controversial examples of the FBI conduct during the period.
Just got a statement from the family of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on the release of 230,000 pages of documents related to his assassination. That release just happening within the last couple of hours. The Kings are also asking people who read the documents to understand the scope of what was happening historically at the time with the FBI surveillance and investigations. Now, here's part of the statement from Martin Luther King III and Dr. Bernice King. It says, "We ask those who engage with the release of these files to do so with empathy, restraint, and respect for our family's continuing grief." It goes on to say, while we support transparency and historical accountability, we object to any attacks on our father's legacy or attempts to weaponize it to spread falsehoods.
Then came April 4th, 1968. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee. Official investigations concluded that James Earl Ray was the assassin. Later reviews acknowledged extensive FBI misconduct towards King, but did not conclude that the FBI ordered or carried out the murder. Still, questions continued. King's family later expressed doubts about the official explanation. Years later, a civil trial involving conspiracy allegations produced findings that fueled more debate. Records include extensive discussions of potential leads, internal FBI memos, intelligence regarding Ray's aliases in the lead-up to the murder, and a reported claim from Ray's former cellmate about the alleged plot. The files detail the lengths of the FBI's 5-year surveillance campaign under J. Edgar Hoover, which included illegal wiretaps on King's phone and bugging hotel rooms across the country to track his activities and undermine his civil rights efforts. The most sensitive of the surveillance files, which included alleged evidence of King's extramarital affairs intended to be used for blackmail. These files were kept under seal by court order until 2027 to protect illegally gathered personal information.
I always believed that James Earl Ray killed Martin Luther King. And then I decided if I'm going to have an opinion, it needs to be an educated opinion. So I'm going to read everything I can get my hands on about Martin Luther King's killing. And I think that if James Earl Ray killed him, he was, to use Lee Harvey Oswald's word, he was a patsy.
Yeah.
Because look at it this way. Here's a guy who was drunk all the time. All the time. He just had a well-documented, lifelong drinking problem. And he decided he's going to kill Martin Luther King. And so he goes to a boarding house that is a full block away from the hotel where Martin Luther King was, the Lorraine Motel, where Martin Luther King was staying. This boarding house was a run-down flea bag place. The rooms didn't have bathrooms. There was one bathroom at the end of the hall. And the bathroom at the end of the hall had a window in the shower, one of these long, narrow windows that had a view of the Lorraine. So we're supposed to believe that this drunk guy with a 40-year-old rifle sat in a public bathroom all day long. Nobody ever noticed him. And then he hits the perfect shot from a block away. Come on. Seriously? Now couple that with what we know for 100% fact, that the FBI tried to get Martin Luther King to commit suicide 2 years earlier. They sent him a letter, an anonymous letter that purported to be from an anti-King African-American man saying, "You're a disgrace to the black people. You should do the only honorable thing," you know.
So where does all of this leave us? The historical evidence strongly supports several conclusions. The FBI conducted surveillance against political movements. It infiltrated organizations. It attempted to undermine leaders and weaken movements through covert methods. Those actions are documented. Claims that the FBI directly assassinated Martin Luther King Jr. or alone destroyed the entire Black Panther movement move beyond what historians generally consider established evidence. History sometimes becomes difficult because reality does not always fit simple narratives. Sometimes the truth is more complicated, and sometimes the documented facts are already disturbing enough on their own. History often leaves us with uncomfortable questions. How much power should governments have during times of social unrest? Where is the line between protecting national security and suppressing political movements? And when records are hidden, destroyed, or revealed decades later, how do we separate evidence from suspicion and fact from fear? The stories of the Black Panther Party and Martin Luther King continue to matter because they aren't only about the past. They raise questions that still exist today about surveillance, civil liberties, protest movements, political dissent, and the relationship between citizens and an institution of power. Some questions have documented answers, others remain debated. But understanding history begins with examining the evidence and being willing to confront even the parts that make us uncomfortable. Thank you for listening, and if you enjoyed this episode of The Redacted Tapes, be sure to follow, share, and join us next time as we continue to explore the paranormal, the unexplained, and the stories hidden between fact and mystery. This has been Redacted Tapes.